Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a focused learner gearing up to completely master the geography of India's climates, you are literally in the perfect place. Today, we're framing our entire discussion as the ultimate visual study guide. We are going to take all those core concepts, the tricky definitions, the actual mechanics of the weather, and distill the whole shebang into a clear, structured roadmap. So, grab your mental notepad because we're about to make this massive, complex, and honestly beautiful system completely understandable.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our incredibly structured syllabus for today. The big questions: weather, climate, and seasons, the rhythm of life, how monsoons are formed, climates and disasters, and finally, understanding climate change. All right, starting off with Section 1, the big questions.
So, what exactly are the mysteries we need to solve today? Here's the checklist of core questions to walk away knowing how to answer. Number 1, what makes India's climate so incredibly diverse? What exactly are the monsoons, and mechanically, how do they form? How do these climate patterns ripple out to actually affect the economy and culture? How can understanding all of this help us prepare for natural disasters? And lastly, what is climate change and what are its real-world consequences? Keep these in the back of your mind as we go.
Moving right along to Section 2, weather, climate, and seasons.
Let's build our foundational definitions so we don't get tripped up on test day. I actually love this simple analogy. Weather is like your daily mood, while climate is your long-term personality. On the left, we've got weather. This is what you experience every single hour or day. Sudden rain, heavy wind, or just bright sunshine. It changes constantly. But on the right, we have climate. That's the long-term pattern of that weather over a massive period of time, usually several decades at least. So when someone complains it's raining outside, they're talking about the weather. When they say a region is generally tropical, they're talking about the climate.
And sitting right smack in the middle of that daily mood of weather and the long-term personality of climate, we have seasons. Seasons act as a bridge. Because the Earth revolves around the sun, we get these predictable periods lasting a few months that recur every single year in a cycle. Basically, seasons bring predictable changes to our daily weather conditions, and that pattern is deeply connected to a region's overall climate.
Which brings us to Section 3, the rhythm of life.
Now, let's look at how life actually responds to these cycles. Take a look at this beautiful ancient Subhashita verse from our source material. Read it through with me. May the rains be timely, may the earth be lush with vegetation, may this country be free from turmoil, may good people be fearless. This isn't just pretty poetry. It shows just how deeply the climate is woven into India's cultural and agricultural hopes. Timely rain means lush vegetation, which means economic stability and a society free from turmoil. The weather literally dictates the peace of the nation.
While a lot of the world just talks about 4 seasons, traditionally, many parts of India actually divide the year into these 6 specific seasons, or ritus. We've got Vasanta for spring, Grishma for summer, Varsha for the rainy season, Sharad for autumn, Hemanta for pre-winter, and Shishir for winter. And each and every one of these brings its own distinct weather patterns and biological responses.
Think of this whole dynamic like a giant, perfectly choreographed dance. The seasons, those 6 ritus we just mentioned, they are the music. And as the music shifts, our crops, our clothes, our food, and our festivals are the dance steps, changing to match the tune. Certain trees only bloom in Vasanta. Animals grow their thick fur for Shishir, and specific harvest festivals align perfectly with this agricultural rhythm. Human life is completely synchronized with this seasonal music.
All right, gear up for Section 4, how monsoons are formed.
We are now tackling the most technical part of the guide, the famous Indian monsoon. The origin of the word itself is super fascinating. Monsoon actually comes from the Arabic word mawsim, which simply translates to season. Strictly speaking, it refers to seasonal winds over a massive area of the Indian Ocean. But to really grasp how it works, you only need to remember one simple, crucial scientific fact. Land heats up and cools down way, way faster than the ocean does.
Let's break down this brilliant mechanical process step by step. Step 1, as summer hits, the vast Asian landmass heats up really quickly. Step 2, all that hot air rises, which creates a powerful low-pressure system right over the land. Step 3, well, because air always wants to flow from high pressure to low pressure, winds are literally sucked in from the cooler, high-pressure ocean. And finally, Step 4, those ocean winds are absolutely packed with moisture. When they hit the warm land, that moisture condenses and falls as the heavy monsoon rains we all know. It's an incredible, massive engine driven purely by temperature and pressure.
Pivoting now to Section 5, climates and disasters.
Because, India's diverse weather patterns can unfortunately bring some very extreme conditions. We are talking about the high-stakes reality of severe climate-related disasters that totally disrupt local economies and lives. The India Meteorological Department tracks these events really closely. We're looking at highly destructive cyclones, especially along the eastern coast, along with immense floods and devastating landslides. And remember, these aren't just isolated weather events. They severely disrupt agriculture, damage vital infrastructure, and put human and animal life at serious risk.
As you can see right here, we're not just talking about a slightly rainy afternoon that ruins a picnic. Extreme weather completely alters daily life. Navigating a city or a river becomes a tremendous challenge, and the resilience of communities is heavily tested, as the very environment they rely on temporarily turns against them.
And that brings us to our final stop, Section 6, Understanding Climate Change.
So, the textbook definition here is pretty straightforward. Climate change refers to significant long-term shifts in temperature, precipitation, and major weather events. Now, to be clear, if we go back millions of years, natural processes absolutely drove climate change. However, records clearly show that since the 19th century, this drastic shift has been largely driven by human activities. The stable, predictable patterns we've been studying today are now rapidly changing.
And what we're looking at here, brilliantly or maybe tragically, illustrates those primary causes listed in the textbook. Mass deforestation, the heavy smoke from industrial practices, the burning of fossil fuels, and patterns of excessive, wasteful consumption are all combining to throw the Earth's natural rhythm completely out of balance.
Okay, so what does this all mean for us? Because knowledge without application is really just trivia, right? I want to conclude with this powerful, thought-provoking question straight from the study guide itself. Based on everything we've just covered, from the daily mood of the weather to the vast mechanics of the monsoon and the rapidly changing global climate, how can individuals, communities, and the government take actual action to reduce the impact of these changes? Think about that as you review your notes. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll